Hi, everyone. My name is Andrew. I get the privilege of being the lead pastor here at the Crossing Church in Costa Mesa, and I want to say a huge thank you for joining with us online today because in this series, we are talking about relationships. And I don't know if you've ever been in a relationship and you've noticed some warnings or some red flags, but in this series, we are looking at all the important red flags that we see in relationships every single day. So I want to encourage you, jump in with us in this series today. Now, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but every single thing you buy now comes with a warning label, which is actually pretty helpful, right? Because no one wants to get hurt. And some of the warning labels out there are helpful, but others are, honestly, pretty ridiculous. Let me give you some examples. Take this one. Don't iron your clothes while wearing them. I mean, you know this exists because someone actually tried this, right? Or here's another one. Don't fold up the stroller while the baby is inside. Or here's one of my personal favorites. Don't put people in dishwashers. Now, I'm not sure any of you needed to hear this, but just in case, maybe this is a helpful warning label for you. Don't do this. Or here's my all-time favorite. Open the box before eating the pizza. Thank you for this very helpful warning. I mean, it seems like everything in our world today comes with a warning label, doesn't it? Everything, that is, except for people. Which, wouldn't life be so much better if people had warning labels? That way you would know what to expect when dealing with someone brand new in your life. In fact, right now on social media, you can find a lot of people talking about warning labels for people, or how we usually refer to them today as the red flags that we see in others. In fact, I brought some of my favorite with me today. These are actual red flags people have when it comes to their relationships. I love this one. Always has a cracked phone screen. You see this person, you're supposed to run away. Or here's another one. They take you to the Cheesecake Factory. Now, I don't know about you, but I personally love the Cheesecake Factory, so maybe this means that I am part of the problem. Here's a good one. They own a reptile. Or another one. Doesn't have a driver's license. That is apparently a red flag. Or here's one I agree with. They order their steak well done. Huge red flag. Or I came across this one and it made me pause because the red flag is they laugh at their own jokes. And I saw this and I gotta tell you, I gotta come clean because no one laughs at their jokes harder than I laugh at my jokes. Seems like everyone today is looking for red flags. Everyone is looking for warning labels when it comes to relationships. I mean, last week for Easter, we spent the entire weekend talking about the labels we put on ourselves. So because of that, today we are kicking off this series called Red Flags. And here's where we're going over the next few weeks. We are gonna talk about the red flags that can pop up in any relationship. So I wanna encourage you, if you're single, and one day you want to be in a healthy relationship, or if you're dating and you want to strengthen or evaluate that relationship, or if you're married and you want to improve your relationship, this series is designed for you. So I want to encourage you, make it a priority. Be here in person, watch online, take some notes every single week in this series. And it's always a good moment, if you haven't yet, to like and subscribe to this page. That way it helps us get the word out to more and more people. And here's where we're going to begin today. Today, we are going to look at the number one red flag that you and I miss. The number one thing that causes more pain in our lives than any other warning label. Let me illustrate it this way. Many of us, we are so good at offering advice to others when it comes to their relationships. Many of us are experts at seeing what another person should do. I mean, I bet every single one of us today, we have a friend who right now we can see what they need to change. We see their biggest problem, the loser that they're dating, or the dead-end job that they won't leave. Many of us are so good at seeing the red flags in other people's lives. But when it comes to us, I believe that many of us, we miss the red flags that are right in here. So today we're kicking off a message where I want to talk about the most important red flags that we will ever see. It's the ones inside of us. So today, this message is for anyone who finds themselves in a place where they end up in bad job after bad job and they're not sure why. Or today, this message is for anyone who is in bad relationship after bad relationship. Today, this message is for anyone who finds themselves in debt, no matter how much money they make, no matter how much their spouse makes, and they wonder, how did I end up here? You see, today I've titled this message, What to do when the red flag is you. And the theme verse for this message is Jeremiah 17:7, which says, "The heart is deceitful above all things and beyond cure. Who can understand it?" Now, the word heart here is used for the core of who we are. It is the central place of our feelings and thoughts. It's the core of us. It's what makes us us. Now, I want to be clear about this. This verse is not saying that your feelings aren't valuable. Your feelings are wrong. Because I know a lot of us have done a lot of work over the years trying to understand and honor the things that we feel. But what this verse is saying is that we have to be careful about blindly trusting our feelings, because our feelings, our heart, can mislead us. Let me illustrate it this way. Every morning, my kids, they wake up, and what they feel like eating is a Pop-Tart. You remember those? My kids are convinced that the best way to start the day is with this square of sugar. Pure, delicious sugar. That's what they feel is best. Now, as a parent, I know that eating pure sugar every day is not the best for two kids. So instead, you know what I do? I make them eggs. And then I eat the Pop-Tart. You see, feelings are incredibly helpful, but at times they lead us down the wrong path. At times our feelings, they can cause us to miss out. In fact, even over the rest of this message, I want to give a prediction of what might happen to you. See, odds are there's going to be a moment during the rest of this message where I say something and you think, oh, I really hope my spouse is listening to this part of the message because they really need to hear this. Or, if only my boss would listen to this message because, man, they really need this message. And while that may be true of them, that may also be your heart trying to deflect you and your attention from an area where you may need to grow. So today, what I want you to hear, and maybe even repeat after me, is this message is for me. This message is for me. And here's where we're going. Today, we are going to ask ourselves 3 questions that reveal the red flags in us. So I want to encourage you, take some notes and get ready to jump in, because you're going to want to spend some time this week thinking through and reflecting on these 3 questions. So here we go. Question number 1. Do I find myself in the same situation again and again? For example, maybe you find yourself regularly so excited about a brand new relationship. And time and again, you tell yourself, oh man, this person, they are the one. And you have all those new relationship feelings and you get so excited about every text and every date. But then the same thing always seems to happen. After a few months, the excitement fizzles and you begin to notice some of the things about that person. They actually drive you crazy, the way they chew or breathe or the way they laugh at all their own jokes. And so you break up. And then a few months later, you meet someone new and you get all those same feelings and you find yourself back in that same spot. You find someone new, you get excited, but then it fizzles and you wonder, how come the exact same thing keeps happening to me? Where are all the winners? Where are all the good guys or the dateable girls? Where are they all? Or maybe for you, it's seeing an issue pop up in other areas of your life. Maybe for you, it's actually more financial. Maybe you find yourself constantly stressed about money. Now, you know you make decent money. I mean, it could be better, but it also could be worse. But at the end of the month, you always find yourself stressed about your credit card payments, your car payments, your rent or mortgage. And you tell yourself, man, next month, I'm going to get my spending under control. Next month, I'm going to budget. But then the next month comes and nothing changes. And you find yourself in that same spot over and over again. I mean, if you've ever found yourself in this situation, I have a verse just for you today. It's an all-time favorite of mine. And I'll tell you, when I was a youth pastor, it was an all-time favorite of every 7th grade boy. Here it is. It's Proverbs 26:11. As a dog returns to its vomit, so fools repeat their folly. Now, I don't know how many of you watching today, you have a dog, and I want to be sensitive not to be too gross for you. But for anyone who does have a dog or ever had a dog, you know that occasionally what will happen is a dog will eat too fast. It will throw up its food, which is already so gross. But then for whatever reason later, this dog, it will come back and it will actually eat their vomit. I mean, it makes you think twice about that cute dog that you allow to lick your face, right? Now, dogs are amazing. I mean, they are way better than cats. But they have this tendency to go back to the very things that cause them pain. And I'll tell you, you and I, we are very similar. We gravitate towards the very things that cause us our greatest pain. Let me give you a few examples. Maybe for you, you've begun thinking in your life, man, maybe I drink too much. And you tell yourself that you want to stop and that you're going to stop. But, today was just a tough day. So what do? You pour yourself a drink, and that leads to another drink. And it does help for a moment, takes the edge off, but only for a little while. Then the next day you wake up, and what happens? You're so disappointed in yourself. You're so ashamed of yourself. And then you have a bad day at work. And then what happens the next night is you're home, and without even thinking, you pour yourself another drink, which causes you to beat yourself up even more. And the cycle continues day after day after day. Or maybe for you, your marriage is struggling and you feel lonely and isolated. And so you just find yourself late at night, online, looking at things you shouldn't be looking at. But it's like you can't help yourself because you just want some form of intimacy. And the next day you feel so ashamed. And therefore you feel more alone and more isolated, which leads to you doing the exact same thing the next night and the next night and the next night. You see, so often we find ourselves moving towards the very things that cause us the most pain. We are like the dog returning to its vomit, so fools return to their folly. You see, we have this tendency inside of all of us to repeat the same mistakes over and over again and to hope that somehow these same decisions will get us different results. So today, here's where we're going to begin. We're just going to ask ourselves this question. Do I find myself in the same situation again and again? And when I see all those areas, I'm just going to ask myself, why? Why do I keep making the same decision? Why do I keep returning to the same patterns? And let me just say, if this rings true to you, I just want to encourage you to hang with me because there is hope. There is hope. Change is possible. And it begins with asking yourself this question. Do I find myself in the same situation again and again? Now, question 2 we're going to ask ourselves this week is this. Do I have the wrong people around me? If you're a parent, you know how important it is to have the right people around your kids. You know, if your kids are hanging around with the wrong people who are constantly getting into trouble, who don't care about their grades, who go to parties and make bad choices, you know that will impact your kids. Now, on the flip side, I was just talking the other day to a parent who was pretty nervous this year about their kid entering high school. I mean, they knew all the stories of all the bad things that can happen to a kid in high school. But then they were telling me that first month, this child of theirs, they decided to join the rowing team. And all of a sudden, this kid who had now had to wake up early and work out and then go to class and then practice and then come home and do homework because you know what, their coach required every player to have a minimum of a 3.0 GPA. This parent was telling me that within the first month, this freshman, he found himself surrounded by people who had a goal, a mission to be the best possible version of themselves in high school. They were telling me their child, they changed practically overnight, and it was simply because the people they were around. We see this impact of friends on our kids, but how often do we miss out when it comes to us? Many of you have heard of the average of 5 rule. The idea here is that when you look at the 5 people you are closest to, that you are pretty much right in the middle in most categories. Meaning when you look at your health, take your 5 closest people, and there are probably a couple people who spend way more time at the gym than you. And there are probably a couple people in your closest 5 that spend way more time watching Netflix than you. You're probably somewhere in the middle. Same thing when it comes to your career. Probably you got a couple of friends who are farther along career-wise. And you probably got a couple of friends who are constantly complaining about their jobs or maybe constantly in and out of work. You see, you are the average of 5. Now, why is this important? Because if you want to grow in any area of your life, your friends will either be the things that motivate the change or they will keep you from changing. I love the way Craig Rochelle puts it. He says, you show me your friends and I will show you your future. Meaning the people closest to us, they have a big impact on the person we become. If you want a thriving marriage, but you're surrounded by people who are constantly complaining about their spouse, a great marriage is going to be almost impossible. If you want to eat healthier, but the people you spend time with, they live at Baskin-Robbins, it's going to be tough to stay on that diet. who we spend time with, who we allow to speak into our lives, it is a big deal. Proverbs 13:20 says this. It says, walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. This is true in every area, including our faith. Now, I know many of you watching are brand new to faith. You are exploring who Jesus is, and I'll tell you, that is amazing. I am so glad that you're watching with us. This is a huge step you're taking today. And I'll tell you, the key to having long-term spiritual growth is having the right people around you. This is why, if you've been around for a while, you know we make it a big deal about getting connected. In fact, this weekend when this video airs, we are launching some awesome ways to get connected to some amazing people. If you want to grow in your faith, we have a 3-week class coming up right now, taught by one of the best New Testament professors I have ever heard, Bill Dogtrum. Starting this week, on Wednesday nights, he's going to be teaching through what's known as the Sermon on the Mount, the most famous sermon ever given by the most famous teacher to ever live. And I'll tell you, if you want to grow in your faith, it doesn't get better than this. You show up, and you're going to sit around a table for 3 weeks with people who, just like you, they are hungry for growth. They are hungry to see Jesus work in their lives. If you want to get a better look at faith and growth, get around people who are like-minded. Or if you want to get a better handle on your finances. You know, in our world today, debt is so normal. Everyone has debt. Most of you watching today, you live in Orange County, which is expensive. So you are surrounded by people who every year go a little deeper and then a little deeper and then a little deeper into debt. You know, the average person you spend time with has debt. Recent study found that the average American today has $6,501 in just credit card debt. That's just credit card. And I'll tell you, if you make the minimum payment on that debt every month, which is about $240, you will officially pay that debt off in August of 2036. In addition to that, you will have paid an additional $4,100 in interest, bringing your total to over $10,000. And I'll tell you, that is normal. It's normal to stay in debt and add more debt. And if you're surrounded by people who think that like that, odds are you're never going to get out of debt. But maybe you're ready for a change. Maybe being around some people who are focused on a better financial future would help you. And I'll tell you, we have a class just for you, if that's you. Or maybe as we talk about relationships today, you know deep within you that you need to invest some time in your relationships. Well, if that's you, we are offering a 3-week experience on building better relationships. I mean, this class is for those of us who are single or dating or married, any of us who just simply want to strengthen our relationships. And I'll tell you, it will bless us to be around people who want the same thing. Proverbs 12:26 says it this way. It says, the righteous, they choose their friends carefully. And I'll tell you, if you are in a place where you maybe need to be careful about who you have close to you, if you need to invest in some new relationships in this season, I just want to tell you that hope is there for you. Change is possible, and it begins by us just asking ourselves these questions. Question 1, do I find myself in that same situation again and again? And question 2, do I have the wrong people around me? Well, one final question for today. Question 3, am I looking for someone else to give me what only God can? If you grew up in the 90s or early 2000s like I did, you probably watched all those great old Disney movies. Movies like Aladdin. A wonderful story about a street kid who falls in love with a princess, and with the help of a genie, the boy and the princess, they fall in love and they live happily ever after. Or The Little Mermaid, where Ariel falls in love with Prince Eric, and Prince Eric is willing to fight a sea monster on her behalf, and then at the end, they get married and they live happily ever after. And then, as you and I got older, we probably watched some of those same romantic comedies, right? Those movies my wife loves that I pretend to hate but also secretly love. You watch the movie Jerry Maguire when Tom Cruise looks at Renee Zellweger and he says the words, you know him, don't you? You complete me. Or you watch As Good as It Gets and Jack Nicholson says to Helen Hunt, you make me want to be a better man. Man, that's real love, isn't it? Or you watch Love Actually, where Andrew Lincoln holds up the sign, to me, you are perfect. I mean, who doesn't want to hear those words? To me, you are perfect. Not that you are good, not that you are amazing, but no, you are perfect. What's the message all these sent? Find the right person, and you will live happily ever after. Find the right person, and they will complete you. They will make you want to be a better man or woman. Find the right person, and they will think that you are perfect. And I'll tell you, a lot of us, we live as if this was true. We live believing the thing I need more than anything else in my life is to find that perfect person that makes my heart skip a beat, that person that I can't stop thinking about. And so what happens is a lot of us, we go out there looking for that perfect person. We date with the intent of finding that perfect person. We end up in relationships where we think, oh, finally, I found the perfect person, and then that feeling fades. We start seeing that person is maybe not so perfect. In fact, they are far from perfect. And I'll tell you, all of you who are married or been married, you know, there are no perfect people out there. Every once in a while, I'll tell you, this is very rare, but every once in a while, someone will stop my wife and they'll be like, oh, your husband, Andrew, he seems so great. He seems so amazing. It must be so great to be married to such a great, amazing, godly man. And you know what my wife will do? She'll laugh because she knows I am far from perfect. I do all sorts of little things that just drive her crazy. I wear contacts. And so every day I have to take out 2 new disposable contacts and I put the contacts in my eyes, and then I have these cases that are about 10 inches away from the nearest garbage on our counter. And in our 18 years of marriage, I cannot tell you the amount of times my wife has asked me to please throw away my contact cases. And you know how many times I've done it? Pretty close to 0. Or when I'm looking for something, I will open up every cabinet and every drawer. This is an actual picture of how I left our kitchen the other day. Now notice, I didn't leave any of the cabinets fully open, but I also didn't fully close any of them. Now, these are just little imperfections I have. I can also get very frustrated or angry with the people I love. I can spend way too much time on my phone. I have said hurtful things. I have done hurtful things. I mean, there are no perfect people out there. So the idea that there is a perfect person out there waiting to complete you, that will make you into a better man or better woman, and you will live happily ever after, I just want you to hear, it's not gonna happen. No person can fix your flaws. No person can complete you. I'll tell you, this is a verse that probably all of us should memorize. Colossians chapter 2, verse 10 says, so you are complete through your union with Christ. Now the word union means relationship, meaning that the relationship that we most need, the relationship that we can be fully seen and fully known and fully loved, is only our relationship with Jesus. You see, it's only Jesus who sees you, who understands you, who loves you, who meets you right where you are. It's Jesus who reveals those areas in our lives where we need to grow and work. It's Jesus who comforts us when we are in pain and we are hurting. You see, it's Jesus that we need more than anyone or anything else. So today we are starting off on a journey where we're going to look at the red flags in us and in the relationships we have today. And I want to close with this. Growth for each one of us, it will be a process. If today you look at your life and you think to yourself, man, Andrew, I do end up in the same situation over and over again. Or, Andrew, I look at the people in my life and I'm not sure they're leading me in the right direction. Or, Andrew, I do live as if another person is the thing that I believe will complete me. I want to share one final verse with you. It's Philippians 1, verse 6, that says, and I am certain that God, who began the good work within you, will continue his work until it is finally finished on the day when Christ Jesus returns. You see, today you and I, we are going to start on a journey together where we are going to lean in on our relationships. This week, we're going to spend a lot of time looking inside of ourselves. We're going to spend a lot of time looking at ourselves in a new light. And we are going to trust that it is God who will help us see. It is God who will help encourage us. It is God who will help bring change to us. And so I want to encourage you as we ask ourselves these questions to allow God to speak to you today. And I'll tell you, next week, you absolutely want to join with us because we are going to look at some of the key red flags we see in those around us that may honestly be hurting us in our everyday relationship. But here's how I want to close today. I know some of you watching, you are brand new to faith. And today, maybe for the very first time, you're beginning to realize that the most important relationship in your life is with Jesus. That it's only Jesus who loves us unconditionally. It's only Jesus who forgives us. It's only Jesus who will never leave us or forsake us. And so today, if you're ready to receive the love and forgiveness Jesus offers, I want to say a prayer for you as we close. God, we thank you that you see us. God, we thank you for your Son, Jesus, who when we call out to him, when we open ourselves up, when we ask for his love and forgiveness, you enter into our lives. God, that only you can complete us. And that you, Jesus, you will do a good work inside of us today. So we thank you that you hear us and are moving in our life today. We pray this in your Son's name. Amen.